And every culture understands that you've got to respect the rights of property. You can't steal. You've got to respect the rights of life. You cannot kill. That's under attack now too. And in there, respecting parental authority, that the parents, they're not owned by the community or the village. The parents are responsible for those children. That's in the Ten Commandments. And children must respect their parents. And the sanctity for marriage is in there. You notice it doesn't say that a man should not covet his neighbor's husband. That wasn't even thought of, because that was so reprehensible that it was a self-evident truth that a woman was not supposed to covet her neighbor's wife. That was a self-evident truth. But we've fallen a long way. The Bible talks about it as something that is unnatural. Romans chapter 1 verse 26. For this reason God gave them up to vile passions, for even their women exchanged the natural use of what is for that which is against nature. I got to pause right here, and I realize that we have children here. But unfortunately, things have gotten so decadent in our society that there's very little chance they have not already been exposed to this. And if I don't say anything, they're going to see it all around them pretty soon, because it'll be sanctified by the government. So I don't know any graceful way to do this without just doing it straight on. By the way, it is in the Bible. They exchange the natural use for what is against nature. Likewise, also men, leaving the natural use, the self-evident natural use of the woman, burned in their lust one for another, men with men, committing that which is shameful, receiving in themselves the penalty of their error which was due. And yet, if I don't say something now, we will soon have the same problem. I can't air this program in Canada. Did you know that? And by the way, I hope that this program, what I'm sharing with you now, I hope that you copy it. I hope you get it from the Amazing Facts website and the Central Church website. And I hope you email it to all your friends, not only in California, but especially in California, but all over the country. Because we got a problem. We've been intimidated by a minority of perverted people who are wanting us to sanctify and vindicate what they know is wrong. And they're trying to use us to do it. The Bible says, committing that which is shameful. It's disgraceful. We are living in California, which is the state of disgrace right now, that we are justifying same-sex marriage. And I'm trying to be sensitive, because we love people. Can God save homosexuality? Yeah, you just read there in the memory verse. So homosexuals will not enter the kingdom of heaven. But he goes on to say, and such were some of you. They can get the victory over those tendencies. People are tempted with all kinds of temptations, both mental and physical temptations. The devil will throw all kinds of things at it, but at least start with, you can't be healed until you realize this is wrong, and God needs to save me from it. But the problem is, and I'm reading about this right now, Romans chapter 1, God gave them up to their vile passions because they refused to recognize it was vile. He withdrew his spirit. Men committing what is shameful, receiving in themselves the penalty for their error, which was due. Leviticus 20, if you want to know how the Lord feels, if a man lies with a man as he lies with a woman, both of them have committed an abomination. That word abomination means cause for abhorrence and disgust. It means a stench in the nose of God. They shall be put to death, their blood shall be upon them. God had some pretty strong feelings about this, and yet I get letters, because I talk about this periodically. It's been around for years. I get letters from people in the gay community who say, well, Pastor Doug, you're misinterpreting these scriptures. I'm sorry, friends. If that isn't plain, then nothing in the Bible is plain. But you wouldn't believe, when a person's blinded by lust and by what they want, they can talk themselves, they can rationalize just about anything. It's a sin. It's wrong. God says it's an abomination. It's unnatural. Even the most primitive, uneducated people in the world know that men and women go together, men and men don't. Now, just for clarity, there's nothing wrong with a man loving a man. David loved Jonathan, and Jonathan loved David, and I love our fellow church members, but you got to be careful in California right now for me to say I love a man. Because, you know, people misunderstand that. But I've got some friends and I love them. You know what I mean? I got a group of guys I go camping with and I love every one of them. But not the way they're starting to love them in California. That's not right. The Bible calls that a perversion. And it's okay for a lady to have girlfriends, but not like they're wanting to talk about girlfriends now. So it's okay that we love each other, but we're not talking about love. These new laws have nothing to do with love. But all the advertising you're going to see, there's going to be a war in the media pretty soon over these propositions. They're going to make it sound like we're trying to outlaw love. Has nothing to do with love. It has to do with lust. It has to do with perversion that they're wanting to vindicate. Because in their consciences they know it's not right. Let's talk about the government. What did our founding fathers believe about these things? You can go back, for instance, to William Blackstone was the judge who wrote his commentaries on law, the English law. It's the basis for legal jurisprudence in all of America. It was widely accepted by the founding fathers. Listen to what he says in his commentary. He doesn't even know how to talk about it. It was so abhorrent and embarrassing for him. But when he gets to the subject of addressing homosexuality, he found it reprehensible. He was ashamed to discuss it. Nevertheless, he noted, what has here been observed, the fact that the punishment fit the crime ought to be the more clear in proportion as the crime is the more detestable and may be applied to another offense of still deeper malignity. The infamous crime against nature committed either with man or beast. Oh, by the way, in the Bible, when it talks about this, it talks about homosexuality and bestiality in the same passage. They're back to back. That's next. People are going to be wanting to get married to their dogs and cats in California. Or really, you think about where this might go. The same arguments that are being used for same-sex marriage, what's to prevent two twin brothers from going and asking for a license? Obviously, you don't need to worry about the offspring. I mean, normally you wouldn't want to marry your sister because there could be some genetic problems, right? But two twin brothers, they don't have that risk. What's to prevent them from getting married? Or triplets. You see what I'm saying? The same, I mean, if we all love each other, why can't the state recognize it? Do you have any idea where this will go? If you don't draw the line somewhere and put your foot down somewhere and stop being intimidated by a perverted culture, then it's your own fault. And quite frankly, I'm shocked I'm not hearing more outrage among Americans, Californians, and especially Christians. It's something happening all around us. It's because, well, I'll get to that later. Anyway, so he goes on, a crime which ought to be strictly and impartially proved and then strictly and impartially punished. This was a foundational law for America. I will not act so disagreeable apart to my readers, he's going on in his commentary, as well as to myself to dwell any longer upon that subject, the very mention of which is a disgrace to human nature. He called it a crime not fit to be named. That's how our founding fathers felt about it. General George Washington, he's one of the first ones that had to deal with the possibility of this in the military. It was outlawed and punished, and they were discharged with infamy. The first 13 states, once they became more established, they had laws punishing this by everything from imprisonment, sometimes 10 years hard labor, some states hanging, death. If you're wanting to know how our founding fathers interpreted that Constitution, it had nothing to do with starting to say that anybody could get married, two men together, two women together, triplets. It's considered morally abhorrent, reprehensible, and something that right now I'm afraid we're becoming shameless. America has been anesthetized by the media. What would normally be reprehensible to us, shameful, an abomination, because we have been bombarded with subliminal messages, a blizzard of programs that come over the TV. All the popular sitcoms, they've got their gay characters and they're so winsome and funny, and you get the